Kostis Niforakis.
That's right.
Black Athena.
Right.
How you doing? Whoop, whoop.
I'm good, man. You?
I'm fantastic. Thank you for bringing me to this amazing setting. Tell the listeners where we're sitting.
Yeah, we're in this really touristy bit of Plaka that usually I would advise people to avoid. But it's almost it's become the opposite now because I've avoided it for so many years. It almost seems perfect place to come. And the actual little square here is called Mosurgon, Platea Mosurgon. So it's actually like people like associated with music. So
right. Perfect. It's a perfect fitting for our interview today.
Exactly.
Well, it's great to see you again. It's always a treat when I come to Athens to catch up with you. From the last time I saw you, there's been a lot of changes in your work. And just before coming to see you today, I realized that a lot of the kind of hats that you wear in the music industry is very similar to mine. Both broadcasters, we're both in curation, both working with labels, work with events. So it never really sort of hit me until today, you know, that we have a very similar background, you know, and I'm curious to learn more a bit about your history. And were you born in Greece?
Yeah.
And then you moved to London?
Yeah. Well, what happened was, I was born in Greece. I was raised in Athens. What happened was basically I grew up with people who had English as their mother tongue. So I've got a bit of an English sort of Anglo-Saxon mentality in my upbringing.
Okay.
So maybe you can hear my voice.
What years are we talking here before moving back to Greece?
No, here's the thing. So this happened in Greece. This happened in Athens. Right. So I grew up obviously in a Greek family, but also spent a lot of time with people who were, you know, sort of Anglo-Saxon background and grew up also in Athens and also grew up with them. But yeah, I was born in Greece and then I moved to the UK. I told my parents I wanted to move there because I wanted to study, which to an extent was true. But my main reason was because at the time it was like early internet years. So you didn't have all the record shops online at that time. So my reason for doing it was because I wanted to go to the record shop twice a week, 3 times a week, every Monday be there. So all the new stuff's in. Do you know what I mean? Like go through like, you know, literally 112-inch records, you know, each time I was there. Do you know what I mean? So that was the real reason. But, you know, obviously all I had to do was make sure I got the degrees, show them, and they were happy, which I did. So,
Excellent. So now for about 10 years now, you've been at the forefront of Athens alternative club, future R&B, electronic, grime, hip hop, jazz. It's been your thing for about 10 years now. First off, a radio show, and then a label. And now you're working for a local label called Cobalt. When did that change happen for you? Like, well, let's go back from the start. When you dived into starting your career as a broadcaster, because was Black Athena the radio show that started it all off?
Well, first of all, we did some parties in London before we moved back to Athens. And at the time, we used to be called Supernature after the Cerrone track, the Cerrone classic.
Right.
So basically what that was, the ethos pretty much the same to now. It's like a real mixture of things. So like, you know, you had Moody Man, Dilla, Fela Kuti, like a t-shirt, Elephant Man, you know, Augustus Pablo, all these different things into one DJ set on a Saturday night in London.
Okay.
With people just like from all walks of life, you know, vibing and dancing to these artists, you know what I mean? Which obviously in London you could, you know.
How big were these parties?
It was a really small venue that we did it. It was called, well, it's still there. It's called Electricity Showrooms, and it had this wicked basement that was perfect. The size was perfect. It was really, really near the legendary London club Plastic People. So it was like, you know, a few yards away from there. But it was a perfect size that maybe 150, 200 people max. Yeah. But it was perfect, like a perfect Saturday night. So yeah, as I say, from reggae to Louis Vega to everything in the mix, you know, done in our own way, which is what I'm saying. This is like a long time ago. It's kind of what we do today, but with different artists and a few different genres. But the ethos is there.
Which is, and explain to me that ethos. Is it? It's a combination, a variety of music and finding the dots and connecting them. Because
absolutely. I mean, from very, very early on, we realized, we listened to all sorts of kinds of music, and we realized that it was a bit silly and actually a bit boring for me going in a club listening to, 5 hours, 125 to 130 BPM music. You know what I mean? Full to the floor, bang, bang, bang. I felt it was boring. So, I wanted everything. I wanted to be able to do that. Yeah. I also wanted to be able to, hear like a classic soul anthem as to close the night. And I wanted to have a bit of hip hop in the beginning and maybe a bit of jazz in the beginning and then maybe a bit of techno, maybe a bit of Chicago house. Do you know what I mean? So that was the idea. And this is the idea of a Black Athena set in 2020. I mean, like, unless we get booked to do rap, trap, and drill, which people know us for this nowadays, unless we specifically get booked to do that, you can hear it on a Black Athena set can have all these different genres that I said before. To answer your question, one, felt boring not to have different styles of music. Two, it felt really obvious how these things connected with each other.
Yeah. And from the UK to Greece, did you have a vision of, hey, look, when I get to Greece, I want to continue doing this and I want to continue doing but I want to bring a new chapter. Did you dive straight into radio when you got here after that part of being in London?
So when I got here, it was really, really hard to penetrate the scene. Initially, I came here because I worked for the Olympics in 2004. So that was, my motivation for coming back. But then it was really, really hard. I mean, the music scene and the music industry seemed very different to what my experience was. When I spoke to people about, and I was really excited, by some of the artists I mentioned before, no one really was interested in these things. No one was really interested in these sounds.
Absolutely, yeah.
So our vision coming back here with Joe, my partner in crime, we felt like we could come here and we could just bring this new sound. We could build, in a sense, clubs that like Plastic People because we experienced quite a lot of music there. Kind of do something like that, bring that ethos, bring that sound, bring that vibe, bring that love for music, bring that passion, and sort of just bring it here and introduce some new records maybe to people that really weren't aware because, I've always felt like it's not about knowing the music. It's about just, as long as the music's got the right energy, anyone from any background can understand and connect to it.
Okay. So when would you say the Black Athena branding or the name was born? When did that happen? Was that after 04, 05, after 10? When?
Yeah. So check this out. I was in this bookshop in London called Foyles, I think. It's an amazing bookshop. Don't know if it's still there, and then I was going through different books and then I saw this book called Black Athena. I was like, wow, what on earth is this? So, I looked at the book. It looked very interesting, all the, the artwork, and just read a bit in the beginning and stuff. And it's all this thing about how Western culture kind of tried in a way to erase the connections between ancient Greece and Africa. Which, I mean, there's different arguments to whether this is right or wrong, but it was definitely for me a very interesting book. And above all, it was a very interesting way to connect where I was from to the roots of the music that I loved. It was perfect, perfect fit for me. Yeah. So I was like, that's it, Black Athena.
Right.
There we go. Like music in Athens.
So what year we're talking about here now? When the event started though.
Yeah, when we.
But thank you for telling me this story because I actually want to talk to you a little bit about something about that. Go on.
Okay. 2005, we did our first event actually, which was
so it's over 10 years. Over 10 years.
Yeah, in a really tiny bar, actually not far from here. It's not there anymore. And in fact, what we did was our first event, really good friend of mine, he's a chef and is now actually pretty famous chef in Greece. They've got Funky Gourmet is their label. They're really, really big in Greece right now. And I think abroad as well, in London. I know they've got a couple of restaurants now.
I can try something while I'm here.
Not at the moment, but maybe next time you're here, we'll sort it. So yeah, I mean, he's like one of the.
No, but I mean, is there a local store that I could go, or a restaurant that I could?
At the moment, they're moving. Moving. So
I see.
You caught them at this bit where they're moving.
Okay.
But yeah, so he was like just starting out with his partner, Yuriana. Big up to them both. Mm-hmm. They're listening. And I said, look, this is the perfect thing: gourmet food and music. So they came down. They did some sort of finger food, etc., etc.
Hors d'oeuvres.
Yeah. My really good mate, who's a legend in Athens, the only original mod that I've ever encountered in Athens. Yannis Mitas came down, DJ'd a bit of ska and reggae.
How fantastic.
And sort of did a bit of emceeing. You know, it was wicked. And then myself and Joe, we sort of finished off the night. So yeah, that was our first event. That was in 2005.
Right. Okay. Bringing in and starting from scratch in a new territory, it's challenging but also rewarding at the same time. You know, like, is that what encouraged you? Like, you felt, you know, this challenge to move back to Greece, did you feel like you had a massive job or big shoes to fill? Or was it more like, no, I've got a role here to play and I want to bring in new music to the city, you know, and I want to create a vibe.
I had an incredible thirst for music. This is what really drove me. It was an incredible drive. It might sound mental, but, you know, it's like you've got this thing. I mean, when I first came here, people here didn't care about disco, like, you know, secondhand record stores. So I got a massive disco collection, like really cheap, just because no one cared about it. You know, I remember like going into the shop, into the record stores, like secondhand stores, so excited. I was like, you know, breathless, like going in there. That's why I'm saying it might sound mad, but you know, that's how big my passion was like hungry. I wanted to find the next record. I wanted to find the next sound. You know, I fed off that. It was incredible. Like, you know, coming back home with, you know, new music. And then at the time, it was a hard time because I sold music online. And, you know, as anyone who's done that and has depended on that will know, that's a very hard way to...
Like through a Discogs kind of...
Yeah, I mean, Discogs wasn't even around at the time. Right. It was like eBay. We did it through eBay. You know, as everyone that has done this will know, it's very hard to actually make a living out of that because, especially in such a small market like Greece, and Athens, because you can't find every day you go out, you know, record hunting, go and find a record that you can sell for 300 euros. One day you will, but then you never know when the next record's going to come in. So pretty hard to live like that.
Yeah, yeah.
It was hard times, but I was so driven, man. I was so driven that, you know, it
didn't really faze you. It was just like,
it didn't faze me.
No.
It was part of the process.
No, I can relate to that.
So, you know, I was lucky to have a partner.
It's in your blood, you know, like you just want to do it, and you're doing something that makes you jump out of bed in the mornings. It feels there's a purpose, you know, there's this drive.
Absolutely. And you know what? And, you know, people might think, someone was telling me recently, and a really talented musician that you stopped doing music now. And I said, man, why the hell you stopped doing music? And he goes to me, what are you talking about, man? To be able to do music, you need to have money. You need to have a backup. Do you know what I mean? He goes to me, I was just thinking about it. I was like, you know, the guy's right. You know, it's so hard to do it. And my point is, I didn't have a backup, man. No. I was like zero. Do you know what I mean? But that drive, that passion just kept me going.
So what do you think's the point of difference there, though? You know, you've got people who don't have that leap of faith within themselves or what they're doing. And yet, you know, what differentiates this now from someone who, you know, believes in what they're doing, but then someone who just fully puts too much control, power over them from money. You know, if you're saying you started with zero, it means that you just didn't really care. Well, I mean, obviously, you know, you got to pay rent, you got to pay bills, but you just do it, right? What do you think? What do you think's the differentiating thing here?
I think he's right. And if I could go back and change things, maybe I would. But you know,
I don't know, man. You know, like, look. I mean, if you look at your accomplishments and what you've done, and you've had an impact on this city, you've been part of the thread of alternative culture. Okay, it's taken 15, 20 years, but you've been part of that transition. You've made an impact on that. So that's something to credit to, you know. That's sometimes you can't put value on that, like with money wise, you know. Like I hear what you're saying. Yes, we do need funds to support our projects, but I think also there's something there, that drive that you're talking about. That's that missing ingredient. You can't get that from money.
No, you can't. No way, man. That's absolutely. You can't put a price to it. It's priceless. I mean, recently I was talking to my daughter and I said, you know, I probably won't have any money that you can inherit from me, but you'll have a huge record collection, and you know, and I don't care what you do with it. You know, you can sell it if you want the money, but you'll have all that and the culture of being raised in a radio studio, and you know, and of being when she was in her mother's tummy, she went to a Bilal concert, like Bilal with like another 50 people. You know what I mean? Like Bilal, you know, we went to Plissken festival. She heard incredible. I can't even remember the incredible artists that she heard even when she was in her mother's tummy. Do you know what I mean? Like, so let alone the people that she met. She met Benji B when she was a baby. She met, like, I can't even start naming the people that she that no harmony. Loafer. She met Loafer again when she was a baby. So yeah, you can't put a price tag on that. That's amazing experience, amazing memories. You know what I mean? But then obviously, as you get older, then you just start to think, what have you sacrificed? You know what I mean? The sacrifices have been huge.
But I guess the dividends now, the experience and the know-how, those nuances and the intricate details that you've learnt along the way, again, that is a price that you can't put on. And you could say that everything that you've done up until this point has led you to this new role that you're in, the new contributions that you're making into the new thread of Greece's alternative music scene. It's all relative. I see it that way. You've had a big impact. Now, going back to starting from scratch, I'm beginning to see this a lot more in different markets, particularly in more third world driven areas or even more rural, even in the States, for example. I'm beginning to see a lot more of this kind of ethos where people starting out in music, rather than trying to create a thing of their own in big cities, or they're going to remote places, whether they are rural or third world places, and they're finding more gratification, but also more lucrative. I see that a lot more now in different places around the world. What do you think? Have you noticed this as well? Are you seeing that in Greece more? Is there a thriving independent scene still here in Greece?
I am seeing it in the sense that in the last few years in Athens, I've met quite a few creative people from different parts of the world. I met people coming over here from the UK, like photographers.
It's setting themselves up.
Yeah. Opening up galleries.
I've seen this too.
People like, writers and journalists, music journalists, operating from here, fashion designers as well from different parts of Europe. Definitely, I'm assuming that one of the reasons that there is this trend that you're describing is the fact that living in places like London, like New York, is becoming impossible because of the cost. If you want to be able to create and not have this huge burden, then you have to go different places and sort of set up there where it's cheaper, and therefore you can sort of explore your art without having these
crazy overheads.
Yeah,
exactly.
So,
So do you find that that's kind of the logic behind why people do that? I mean, I can relate to this, but more not so much from a financial kind of reason, like because of bringing down costs. I moved to the Middle East because I saw, when I went to Beirut, I could see this emerging scene happen in 2010. That's what kind of inspired me to move to the region. I felt like I could bring what I've learned from Australia and take that there. Do you think that has also influenced a lot of these decisions from these creatives? Like they feel like, hey, this is kind of like a blank canvas. I can come here and be part of this and contribute and offer something to this scene, to a growing scene.
I think so. I think that's probably in the back of their minds. But the problem is, as I was describing before, when I came here, it's such a difficult place in the sense that, it's easier now because of, Instagram and Spotify and all these things.
And alternative music's a lot more popular too, than it was.
Absolutely.
It's not such a niche anymore. It's a bigger niche, so to speak.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm getting the feeling that the world's becoming more mainstream generally, but
interesting.
Access is easier. So if you're interested, you've got a Google thing to type into, right? But if you don't know what to type into that, you'll never get to that content.
Yeah.
So the access is there. Maybe what's in your face is your Spotify recommended playlist for the day, tracks on your radar or whatever. So, I don't know how these algorithms really work. Mine are failing for sure. So,
but if you look at, if we're going to look at numbers and things like that of followers and all these sort of things, I don't look at that, based on success or how do you measure success? It really takes down the role that you've done or you've contributed to the scene.
Yeah.
And I've been coming here since I was a kid, but coming to Greece, because obviously my heritage is here as well, but from the last 10 years on the regular, because I've been so close, which is part of one of the big reasons of moving to the region, to the Middle East also, so I could be closer to Greece. So I've seen in these 10 years an alternative scene grow so much more. And you'd mentioned this before, you didn't see, like, when you started out, there wasn't that. And I mean, I don't remember seeing little bar gigs or club gigs that were supporting Ninja Tunes, Warp, Hyperdub, all these kind of labels that you never heard that stuff here before.
No, as I say, when we
and you've brought things like Eglo here as well. Those labels,
Eglo, Andres, 40DL, big up to New York. Lofa, as we said before, Benji B.
I mean, who else would have done that?
Yeah, I don't know. Probably no one. So yeah, we did so much stuff. We, Elijah and Skilliam, on a grime tip, booked DWE for our stage Plissken Festival. He never turned up because of that Skepta gig in Ali Pali. I'm gonna get you, DWE, one day. Well, the first drill act, UK drill, 6-7, brought them out here. So many things. Zed Bias, it's amazing. So many things that we did, and now things have changed so much. I think we also brought the competition, because if we hadn't done those things, there wouldn't have been other clubs and other promoters trying to do this, because that pushed other promoters. And some of the best gigs I've actually seen in Greece took place after we did our stuff, and maybe I'm thinking inspired by what we did. Flying Lotus, when he came to Greece.
Wow.
I tried to book Flying Lotus. We tried to book, myself and Joe, Flying Lotus in 2006. And I remember the people at the place that we did, they were like, who's Flying Lotus? Why should we book Flying Lotus? I was like, like a couple of years down the line, I was like, well, I told you. So yeah, Flying Lotus, they brought Flying Lotus over. They brought the most amazing, like, Africa High Tech with Zombie.
Yeah, right.
And in fact, that was 2010, Africa High Tech. Mark Bridge on SpaceX.
Yeah, excellent. That was a great project.
Yeah, incredible. Can you imagine, like, a lineup like this, Zombie and Africa High Tech? Maybe in London it's all right. It's a normal Saturday night.
Yeah.
But here, I was like, whoa, man, this. These have
changed. These have changed. When I always visited Athens, I always come and stay for at least a few days. And I love to wander the streets to see the posters and see who's been here, because some of the posters stay on the wall. And I'm like, damn, Greece has changed,
Yeah. So, in fact, the important thing about that 2010 night with Africa High Tech Zombie is what, like, there was a big dubstep scene here at the time. Shouts to the Runner, and shouts to Boycott as well. There were two important people in the drum and bass scene and the dubstep scene.
And Boycott
is a DJ Boycott.
Okay, right.
They were called together as a crew. They were called D2.
Right.
So they were responsible for bringing a lot of people from that kind of genre, and then we sort of collaborated with a lot of things of that style. Yeah, the 2010, so there was a big dubstep scene here. It had sort of emerged, I think, from the drum and bass scene, and some people from electronic music, maybe a little bit trance as well, had merged into that. Hope I'm right. I think I'm right. In 2010, everyone turned up to see Zombie, and everyone was expecting a dubstep set. The Zombie turned up and played trap, like full on.
And how was it received?
Apart from me and Joe, who were like going nuts, everyone in the audience was like, "What? What is it? Why?" But me and Joe were like, "Yeah." So and then obviously it's kind of
your
funny.
Musical palettes were a little bit more broader and open, right?
I guess, yeah, exactly. And we were just like really thirsty for that sound at the time.
Had you heard this sort of sound already?
We were like really
into it.
And in fact, I'm going to go as far as saying that we were probably one of the first to play this sound here, as well as grime music. And we were like, wow. And it's kind of funny that now, as we speak, like the last 2 years, trap is the number one music style in the country. Of course, it's big in the whole planet and everything.
Of course.
It's kind of funny
to see where it's at now.
And it's exactly that, to lead you back to my work now. Not really many people cared about what we did before, in the mainstream of Greece, I mean.
Yeah.
But suddenly the charts like swap. I think it's 2018 where they put that thing in where they're counting streams as there was a change. I can't remember the exact change, but there was a change that meant all the charts changed. It was all rap after that. Then suddenly you get that and you get 2018 and I'm getting phone calls. So.
Yeah, look, I mentioned it before. I mean, you've been part of this. Whether you're reaping in the financial rewards right now,
I need more.
But you've been part of this whole new sort of scene that's happened here. And tell me about Cobalt. When did this start? We touched on it before.
Yeah.
Before we started the interview. Tell me, when did this start?
Cobalt Music is one of the biggest labels in the country. It's a label, it went with different names in the past because of the way the music industry works here. Basically, it's a label that's been existing. It's got a 60-year catalog. Basically, right. Some of the most amazing music that ever to come out of Greece is owned by Cobalt Music. I'm just going to say to the diggers on this podcast, I was saying before, one of my favorite Greek breaks, the hook. We got that. Got the hook. Do you know what I mean? We got the hook. The chase.
Just the hook.
Is ours. It's a famous Greek soundtrack of a very weird film.
And you've got to send it to me.
Yeah, I will.
I'll probably recognize it, but maybe not. But I'm interested. Please send it to me.
Definitely. I definitely will. So, and it's not just that. The catalog is huge. And, actually, I'd love to just dive in. Do you know what I mean? But So
when did it start? When did you...
Here's the thing. Suddenly, Greek YouTube trends changed because of the things I was telling you before. All the kids are like, on repeat. They're watching constant, Greek rappers and trappers and so on and so forth. And then you look like Greek YouTube trends now. And as you know, Greek, how should I call it? Folk music or traditional Greek music was the thing here until 2-3 years ago. So it was huge.
Has this had an impact on the Greek pop music, like Greek break dance music? Would trap and hip hop be bigger than this now?
They are.
That's worldwide, huh?
It is worldwide. Yeah. I mean, because obviously this is part of my job now, of looking at these things and sort of checking out how this translates to Greece and to Athens. Is not so much the actual sound and the actual music. I think it's more the visual element and the swag of rap. It's it's more cultural rather than the actual sound or let alone the origins of the sound or anything like that. I think it's Instagram, it's TikTok, what have you. So the sound, you'll get like one of the biggest tunes in history in this country was a track called Mama by a guy called Simboy. Big up. He's probably somewhere there in Albania and he better be listening to this interview. And the guy came up with this tune. The guy's a bit of a genius. I mean, I don't enjoy his style of music, he knows that, but the guy is a genius in the way that he put together this track because he's the main person behind it. There's other people featuring on it, but obviously he knew how to get viral, so in my mind he used the first word that every human in the world says and he named his track after that.
Right.
Mama. It's bound to go viral. Do you know what I mean? So, and he was like,
I love it.
One of the hugest tracks. Like, I can't remember. I mean, it got millions of plays, like literally, I think in like a few weeks, it got millions of plays. Wow. Basically, he got an incredible amount of success. He was gigging, Greece, like, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4, 5, 6 gigs a week. Crazy stuff until he sort of, I don't want to say what happened. I don't know what happened. The change of heart, he actually just took down the track. Millions of plays, right? He took down the track off YouTube. You can only find rips of it now online. He took it down. It's like, kind of like
some kind of like conscious awakening or something.
Yeah, kind of like there was like, to me, people will think I'm crazy who are Greek and listening to this interview, but to me, it was like a Bill Drummond moment, like where he burns like the million pounds. You know what I mean? Like, so he takes that track down. He's like, you know what? I hate the music industry. I hate all of you.
Wow.
And he just left.
And that's it. He's out.
He's gone. Yeah, he's gone to Albania. His roots are from Albania.
Wow.
But so he's just gone to Albania. He makes music, posts music on YouTube and everything. But he's a very interesting guy. Very interesting guy.
Wow. All right on. Mate, I wanted to ask you about, especially this year, what are your thoughts, I mean, on, and this is completely random from what we were been discussing, but the whole, going back to, the name Black Athena.
Yeah.
Have you had any backlash on that because of the name?
Well,
and where do you sit on that? Like,
I think people, they haven't looked into it.
Locally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They haven't looked into it.
Yeah.
So, but obviously we've had a lot of problems in the past decade here with far right groups.
Right. Right.
They got into parliament. At times, I kind of felt, you know what? At some point, I'm going to get a visit from one of those guys. I'm sure.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah.
Did that ever happen?
No.
And what about at your events? Have you experienced any tension?
No, because I think we've been too niche. The thing is that what's funny about all this is that, as I said, we had a problem with far right, nationalism, racism, all these things. Greece has been trying to hide it for many decades, but, the shit hit the fan when the Golden Dawn, the Nazis basically entered the parliament. So no one could hide from that.
Yeah.
But, the funny thing about...
Has that calmed down? Or is it still quite prominent? Especially now.
I think they've been killed by fake news as well. I think fake news is the predominant. It sort of houses all these lunatics within it. You know what I mean? So, so if you want to win the elections anywhere in the world, I think, as Donald Trump proved in 2016, just do a fake news sort of kind of party and just talk rubbish all the time, and
it doesn't seem like there's much difference going on at the moment. Who knows?
So yeah, I mean,
what I was getting at is, especially with Black Lives Matter, we've had artists like Joey Negro, Black Madonna, who've changed their name.
Yeah,
has that been a thing
for us? You mean as Black Athena?
Yeah,
it hasn't, but it's funny you say that, because when I saw the Black Madonna thing, I said to Joe, I think we're next. And,
what would you change it to?
I don't know. I'm not sure. Athena? That would be a bit nationalistic though, wouldn't it? So yeah, but I think for us, because of the fact that it's black music in Athens, so I think it's slightly different. You know what I mean? We play black music in Athens, and that's the whole... Yeah, and that's a worldwide thing. Yeah. So I think it's slightly different in that way, but it's also the fact that, I was going to say that even people that would have had, in terms of far right people that would have had a problem with that, it's kind of funny because the Greek curriculum, when you grow up, go to school here, one of the first things you learn in the Greek curriculum is about Egypt and Athens connection. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, it's in the Greek curriculum.
Absolutely.
So,
there's always been a strong connection with the Greeks and Africans,
exactly.
From the dawn of time.
Exactly. And only recently I've been told about Pythagoras going to Memphis in Egypt and being taught by priests in Egypt. Do you know what I mean? Look it up. So yeah, Black Athena, man. That's
so
it.
Interesting. You're the second time I've heard Pythagoras' name come up in the last 3 days.
Pretty cool dude. Eh?
Yeah, man. Totally. Because my father's from Samos. So. Okay. So your radio show's still going. You're on. You've changed frequencies.
Yeah. I've been very lucky to be.
Are you still doing 2 Saturdays? 2 days on the weekend?
Yeah. It's the weekend still. So it's Saturdays and Sundays, 8 till 10 in Athens time in the evening. And, I've been lucky enough to be with Athens Voice, who supported me, and were we really want you to come and join us. And they were fantastic. They've really supported everything we've done so far in terms of the website and the FM and everything. They've been lovely towards me. So I just want to big them up. But we did 11 years. We did radio show on Athena 984 FM, which is the municipally owned radio station, which, in their archives, because of us, they've got people like Jeru the Damager on there, interviews with Sadat X, Love Fingers, Mark Pritchard, Steve Spacek, all these things that are on their archive. And, again, I want to big them up as well, because if it wasn't for them, who knows what would have happened.
And you're still using Mixcloud to archive your shows?
Not so much anymore, but there's about 10 years worth of music and interviews on there. Dig in, it's mixcloud.com /Black Athena with an E.
Yep. And the label? the label, where can we find the catalog? And
right, here's the thing. If anyone's listening from Spotify, you need to sort this out because it needs to be more label central, the platform. You know, anyone that's into music, it's ridiculous. You can't search by label. You can't do you know what I mean? It's ridiculous. You know, they need to sort it out. I'm hoping they're not doing it on purpose.
Right.
But the search function on that side is really important to music culture.
Okay.
So they need to sort it out. But yeah, where can you find us?
Yes. You don't actually have a Black Athena website.
No, we don't actually have a website, but you can search. There is a Black Athena releases playlist on Spotify.
Right.
So go try find that.
But I mean, you've got 80 plus releases now. Where can you find the whole catalog? If someone wants to go and buy it?
You can't find the whole catalog. Oh, you can actually. There is a way.
You know what I'm
No, there is a way that you can search for if you go to any of the old school download sites, you know, like, I don't know, Juno Download or, Beatport or whatever.
You got them up on those
you
sites.
can search, you can click on the Black Athena and then it will bring you up most of the releases.
What you've got up on the system. Okay, cool, man. Thank you for sending me all your music over the last few years as well.
Yeah, no problem, man. No problem.
Always enjoy getting music releases from you. It's an absolute pleasure to see you as always. It's like kind of a thing for me when I come to Athens. I've got to go and see Kostis. at least every time I'm here, man. So it's
a ritual.
Yeah. It's like a visit to Athens. I got to see Black Athena.
Great,
it's become a thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mate, it was a pleasure to have you on the show, and thank you for coming on and having this chat with you, man. It was awesome.
Thank you.
And look at this setting where we are. We can't get more Greek than this. All right, man. Big ups. Thank you. Thank you.
Salute.
Thank you.